Mounting an external monitor like the Atomos Ninja V to your Sony FX3 shouldn't be this hard. But I found the best way to do it, and it was using a part that I've seen no one else recommend. Let's do it. For years, Sony video shooters have been mounting their external monitors to the top of their cameras using the hot shoe. This method was the way for cameras like the Sony a7S II and the a7 III, because it put the monitor on top, a nice place to see, right above the camera, with the option to tilt it up or down depending on your needs. And you can do that as well with the Sony FX3, but there's another part to consider. That's because Sony included an audio handle with the FX3, and it takes the spot Sony shooters used to reserve for their external monitor. And the handle is practical. It's really good at taking in pro-grade XLR audio and feeding it into your camera. With no wires, I might add you. That's a pretty cool feature. So we use the handle because it's good. But then where does your monitor go? Well, there's no way to mount the monitor onto the handle or camera right out of the box. It's like they designed the system to be monitor unfriendly. So people had to get creative. Third-party solutions began popping up as soon as the FX3 launched, but many of them added a new mounting point onto the handle itself. Which, I mean, it's a handle. You gotta hold it, you gotta use it as a handle, and when you put the monitor on the handle, it kind of defeats the purpose. If you put it in the middle, as so frequently shown online, you have absolutely no space for a hand grip. Likewise, if you put it on the end of the handle, like with some of the popular extension kits, the monitor can get too close to your body and still mess with your grip of the handle. And don't even get me started with the people who choose to mount the monitor on top of the XLR unit. That is a house of cards and a bit more tedious of a build than I'd like to get involved with. It's just not the same as it used to be. I'd like to have a system that works. So how do you solve this problem? Well, first thing I'm going to do is make an assumption that you have a cage on your camera. Camera cages are a great way to protect your camera and add mounting points. They come in both camera-specific models, and there are also universal variants. Now, as for where I'd like to mount the monitor on my Sony FX3 with my cage, I'd like to put the monitor somewhere on the left-hand side, the smart side of the camera. This mounting setup is inspired by the bigger cameras in the Sony lineup, particularly the FX6, and how it mounts the viewfinder off to the top left for the operator to get a good look in. But how do we achieve this orientation with an external monitor like the Atomos Ninja V? Well, I'm gonna tell you. For starters, you could get creative with a magic arm, mounting it to the cage and then holding your monitor in the desired position, but that gets a little complicated, and to be honest, it could be more secure. Here's the solution that I suggest based on a product I've never seen anyone else recommend. Before you begin, I'm using the small rig half cage, which comes with a 15mm rod mounting point on the top of the camera. This is essential for the solution to work, so either you pick up this cage specifically or another cage that supports a 15mm rod option. Once you have that piece in place, the logical next step is to take a 15mm rod and put it into the mounting hole. This is an 8-inch stainless steel unit from SmallRig. Finally, I'm going to add the part I alluded to, the part that brings it all together. The shape offset swivel monitor mount with a 15mm rod clamp is precisely what the name suggests. It's a 15mm rod with a right angle rod clamp on one side and a monitor mount on the other. This piece slides onto the 15mm rod, you tighten it down, and then you screw your monitor on the other end, which finishes the installation. This is my solution. You can see how it brings the monitor into the perfect spot beside your camera. You can even adjust how far out you want the monitor from the rig. Being a swivel fit, you also maintain the tilt adjustment that's present in some cold shoe mounts, so you can tilt the monitor up and down to suit whatever conditions you're filming in. And look at this, there's the option to slide the fitting towards you or away from you depending on how your camera is being used. You can adjust the monitor to bring it closer or farther away from your face to help you better see the monitor. And finally, what if you think the monitor is too low? Well, this part has you covered as well. You can remove the screw-on monitor fitting on the end and flip it around. Doing this allows you to mount the monitor from the bottom, which effectively flips it upside down and gives it a lot taller of a profile. And all of the same adjustments apply. This is perhaps one of the most versatile options to mount a monitor to a Sony FX3 camera. It's the same rock-solid quality you would expect from Shape, and it does all of this without adding a substantial amount of weight to your rig. And that's why I think it's the best solution for mounting an external monitor to the Sony FX3 camera. I love this little part, and when I tried it, I couldn't believe that more people hadn't recommended it. It's so helpful. That's why I made this video for you, to share with you the tool that I had been using for the last year to mount my monitor to my Sony FX3 and the best tool for the job. I hope this was helpful. Thank you for watching. This tiny little part is, it's pretty simple. I mean, it's just a rod and a right angle fitting and a monitor mount. Like, that's literally all it is. And it is a little pricey on the Shape website, but I cannot believe this was not recommended more for this Sony camera use case. Like, Shape has their own like prefabricated Sony FX3 kits, and I don't even think they use this. Like, they don't even give you a spot to mount your monitor. They kind of insist in their images that you use the monitor on the camera, which is pretty small. So we want that external monitor, and to my knowledge, I'm one of the only people to use this part for this use case. So I love this part. I couldn't recommend it enough. Thank you very much for watching. Remember to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.